What's up, guys? Welcome to the weekend episode of Rawstocks. This is Rustic. Today we're going to be looking at Tesla's chart. We're going to be looking at where price came from last week, where price ended on Friday, and where price is likely to head over the next week. So, looking at the daily chart, we traded the last 3 trading days down. We traded down into a daily fair value gap, and we chose to remain open. We took the liquidity that sat in these wicks, all of it, okay, and we have some more downside targets as well as upside targets heading into the next week. Something that we want to look at is that we do continue to have a bearish bias as we've traded down, we've corrected back up, we've traded down, we've now traded into an optimal trade entry using our Fibonacci levels. Okay, and we will look here, Fibonacci, right? We traded up to our optimal trade entry a little bit through with some wicks. This candle closed right at that Fibonacci level, and we'd be looking for price to come back down and test this low and potentially come back down to our extension levels all the way down to 190 and 31 cents. Go ahead and take that off, but our bias is bearish at this point. We did break that channel that we had been watching for the last couple weeks, and I will show that here. I've taken it off my chart since, but we did break that channel, as you can see, and we were watching, and price came down through it on Thursday, and then on Friday it back tested it with a wick and sold down on it. So that channel is off the board, and it has been broken and confirmed. We are watching this trend line of resistance as it continues to offer some support as a bearish resistance, and then we are also watching this one, which is on the similar trajectory. Okay, we are also going to continue to watch that we are in a symmetrical triangle formation as we head into earnings. Earnings is going to be on the 18th here, so we have 2 days of trading before earnings happen. We do anticipate that earnings is probably going to be the driver to push price either lower or higher, and we have those areas marked off. I'm going to take off this trend line here just so things are less messy. I'm going to clean this up so that you can see that apex perfectly. Okay, but with earnings coming up, we do anticipate that earnings is going to be the driver to really move this. Important thing to note on the daily again is that we traded down into the bullish fair value gap and it remained open as we took some sell side targets. If we were to start to trade lower, we'd be looking at, and I have these pre-marked off from a live session I did in the Traders Helping Traders Discord. So if you're ever interested in looking at how to set up your chart for the week in advance on Sundays, we do a live we call it pregame with Rustic, but it's a live session where I'm sharing my screen and we're setting up these levels starting at a weekly time frame and looking all the way down to the 5-minute time frame. So if you're ever interested in that, the link's in the description below. It's on the Traders Helping Traders Discord, and you can find me there on Sundays at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. Okay, so we do again have this fair value gap open. If we were to head lower, we got a previous week low, sell side liquidity, resting at 242.78. We have another sell side liquidity resting at 234.41. Those are our downside targets. If we want to respect this fair value gap, because we did not blow too far off of it, so the fact that we're just kind of trading back into it doesn't say that it's necessarily bearish. We do have a bearish bias because of this resistance line starting up over here, but because we're also in a symmetrical triangle, that bias is only so strong because we also have the support level that is held here, and now could it continue to hold as we trade into earnings. So we'll be watching for a breakdown or a breakout of either one of these trend lines. And if we were to head higher, we have a previous day high here. We have a daily point of control volume node from this entire move from this high all the way to current price. We have that point of control here. We also have a 4-hour equal high here, and we have buy side liquidity above at 278.71. So if we broke out, we'd be taking that daily point of control volume node, seeing if it continues to offer support or resistance. You can see even back here that price has been resistance. We kind of gapped over that We gapped under that more or less. Now we're trading back up to it. Has continued to be a sticking point. So if we traded up to it, could we still get a sell down? Entirely possible. But if we traded up through it and it no longer offered support or resistance, right, we would be trading to this equal high on the 4-hour time frame and then the buy side liquidity. Let's drop down into a 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart shows that we have a bearish and a bullish fair value gap all in the same. The most recent one is bearish. RSI is giving us a bearish look under 50 under the moving average 14 period. And so do we keep this fair value gap open and then trade down through it, closing this one, potentially breaking the support level? We got, again, our liquidity targets down below. And then on the 4-hour time frame, we have a fair value gap down here. That would be assuming that we broke down below this symmetrical triangle support level. Okay, so a little bit of a bearish look here, but nothing says that we can't see RSI draw back up early next week before earnings, right? Because it's totally possible that we do see a bit, and I'm not saying anything crazy, but a bit of a rally heading into earnings. We only have Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday, right? So do we start to either see price come down and test this support level in the 245 range? Possible, but that would closing 4-hour candles below would take out that bullish fair value gap. And so if we were to do that and trade down below, find support on this support line of that symmetrical triangle, you know, we would be looking for then price to come back up into this fair value gap where it would find resistance, ultimately selling down further. So if we take out this fair value gap first, this bullish one, the move is most likely going to be a bearish move. But if we come back up and test this leading into earnings and potentially keep this, keep this bearish fair value gap open, right, we could also see a sell down because that still leaves that bearish fair value gap. But if we start closing and take out that bearish fair value gap, most likely any move down to support would be met with buying and it would send us higher. So right now on this 4-hour time frame, we're really looking to see confirmation for either the bullish or the bearish fair value gap to close, and we'd be looking for price to move opposite of that. So if we drop down to the 1-hour time frame, we also see a bearish fair value gap above. And so we do see that we got a higher high and a slightly lower high, barely. That's what gave us our relative equal highs here on the 4-hour time frame. And then we did see what appeared to be a reversal here, and then we saw the sell down. Right? And so we do see that we've most recently taken sell side liquidity in these lows, but we have not taken all of it. And so if we start to sell down, again, we have that support level, and then we have our sell side liquidity targets. But that it's not off the table, again, that we don't see a rally up here into this 1-hour bearish fair value gap and then still see a sell down from there. It's entirely possible. Or do we come down here, try to take out this support level, this liquidity target, and then run up after earnings? Again, a lot is going to rely on earnings. Earnings is going to be the driver. It's no surprise that we've coiled into earnings as we've come down, come up, bounced around now inside of here. Here you got a better look at that broken support. So there we go. We got our we got multiple points where it hit, offered support. We saw this candle trade down to it, and then we traded through it. We kind of gave it a little back test and sold down. So clearly a trend reversal. So if we were to look, this is a very aggressive trend on the 1-hour, but if we were to look, okay, we have this, and we have what appears to be a very aggressive falling wedge. And you could even say we're trying to break out of it. We started consolidating at the end of the day. If we were to sell down early next week, it's going to probably be a very rapid sell. We could see just a small recovery that turns that into a very aggressive bearish channel. But again, we have this resistance line, so we're really looking for that 245 level to hold as support. If we did trade down early into Monday, we're looking for that 245 to support, and we're looking for an immediate bounce back in the other direction. If we started taking out that level early, that would be very suspicious. If we took it out on Monday, I'd be looking for a much bigger sell down to the, again, 242, down to 234, right? And do we get this massive liquidity sweep going into earnings where then smart money ends up buying up all the shares? That's some sort of manipulation that we're watching for. And so it will be definitely of interest to see where price is moving prior to heading into earnings. Let's go ahead and take these trends off, but just remember, again, we're in a very aggressive falling wedge that could turn into a very aggressive bearish channel that I would not expect to remain intact for very long, just because of how aggressive it is. If we're looking at the 15-minute chart, we start to see a little bit more of our smart money indicators on there. We have equal highs that have not been taken here, which is also near our daily point of control volume node. So I do expect that equal highs eventually will be taken. Whether that's after earnings or prior to earnings, we'll have to see. But these equal highs right here in these wicks are very important, something that we're definitely interested in. Okay, we do have our 15-minute fair value gap down here. We do have what appears to be a bearish change of character on the 15-minute time frame, but that doesn't mean that we start selling down immediately. We could see a jump up and then come back down, which would give us a nice bearish break of structure as well. But we have this 15-minute fair value gap that we're watching. We traded down into here. We traded back down into here. Is it going to continue to offer support for us? If we trade down quickly all the way to the trend line into the order block, this will get closed on the 15-minute time frame and no longer be magnetic or a point of interest for us. Then we have some smaller ones down here, but we'd have to be taking liquidity and take out that support trend line in order to get to these ones or down into this order block down below 235. So things we're watching for, not necessarily expecting it, but again, watching for when earnings is going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and put a vertical line on the day of earnings, and so that we can see in reference to the shorter time frames kind of the area we have. Wouldn't be off the table to see us come back and test the previous day high, which was Friday's high, right? And then even potentially sell down from there leading into earnings, where we might see some buyers step in based on earnings, or we might see that support break down and take us much lower. As we drop down into the 5-minute time frame, we're looking at price action from Friday, and you can see that basically Friday we did not have any buyers present, and it also wasn't an extremely rapid sell. There was not any huge candles, no massive imbalances. We did see a little imbalance here to the sell side that has continued to remain open, being a small 5-minute fair value gap. And ultimately, we just saw that kind of open, rebound, and then sell. But we didn't see any like really, really impulsive moves like we saw over here. Any sharp drops like we saw on Thursday were just boom, right? This was just kind of like very mild, selling. If we slapped up the volume, I can guess that it was probably lower volume selling, but just no buyers anywhere to be found. Probably just allowing price for price to come back down and test these lows here and these lows here, and you can see we almost hit it perfectly by taking this low. We even came back down and took this low just barely, and then kind of just chopped and consolidated into the end of the day. So we did have one trade on Friday that we called out as a lotto. It was a call, looking for price to maybe even come back down and test this fair value gap. It was a 260 call, ended up not paying out. But Fridays are expiration days, contracts are cheap, so if you are gonna take a swing at something like a lotto, that's a great day to do it, because you're not risking a lot of capital on a high premium contract. Those $50 contracts or 50-cent premiums are great opportunities to have some large trades, but you always want to make sure also you're managing risk. You're not taking the amount of contracts that are too many or inappropriate for your portfolio. Maybe just one or two, just in case price does run in your favor. Now, obviously, if you grab some puts here, you got a nice payday. That was probably a lot of percent gain if you grabbed a put contract, but we did not. So again, this is our 5-minute chart. We are looking at our previous day low and we'll drag it down even just a little bit more to capture that there's equal lows here. So even if we did start trading up, no matter where we went, we would be looking for these equal lows to be taken sometime this week. And so don't take 250 off the map. We do have all the order block down here and the trend of support. And so I do expect that these will get taken at some point in time, sometime during the week. And again, here's our earnings. Right? So could we trade up, trade down, test the support, hit earnings, take off, or sell down? That's what I'm watching for. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. Again, there's links in the description below. Traders Helping Traders Discord, where I'm hanging out during market hours. There's some links to the merch shop. There's links to my socials and different ways you can support the channel. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you guys are very profitable with trading, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks.